Albright, since it is top of mind today, the President has just completed really a historic address to the Muslim world in Cairo. Why don't we start out by hearing your views about that speech? I'll pose a few questions and feel free to give any type of reflections you would like on his speech. One facet that occurred to me is that that speech had many different audiences. Parts of the Muslim world, the U.S. domestic audience, American Muslims, Israel, the American Jewish community, all other nations. How effectively do you think the President addressed all of those various communities that he was trying to reach?
Well, first of all, let me say how happy I am to be here. I have spoken, as you pointed out, before the Commonwealth Club a number of times, both when I was an official and since. And I think it's a great grouping, and I salute you for what you're doing with the variety of people that you have. I had written, actually, a memo, another one, that appeared in the papers about what I thought needed to happen in the speech. And one of the things that I did say was about the multiplicity of audiences. And that's always the very hard part. I mean, you're not just talking to the people in front of you, but the variety of people. I thought it was a fabulous speech. I really have to say I was very nervous because there had been such hoopla about the speech, and how could it possibly meet those kinds of expectations. And candidate Obama had promised that he was going to give a speech in a Muslim capital in the first months of his administration. I frankly thought that he might do it in Indonesia for one reason more. I think people sometimes think that all Muslims live in the Middle East. The bottom line is they mostly don't. They live in Indonesia or India or Bangladesh and or Thailand, many different places, and obviously also because President Obama had spent time growing up in Indonesia. But very typical of him, I've decided, is that he actually goes to the center of things pretty quickly. I was fascinated that he took on Arizona State for not giving him an honorary degree, or that he when he went to Notre Dame, he dealt with what the demonstrators had protested about. And on the Middle East, on the issue of Muslims, he decided that he was going to go to Cairo. But first he stopped in Saudi Arabia, having the week before met with Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Abbas. So he has very much immersed himself in the issues. I think that he probably, I would say, did very well with all the audiences, except, and I've been reading the papers today, very conservative Americans who wanted to find something to criticize, and some members of the American Jewish community, and some people in Israel. But for the most part, I think it was received very well. I think there's some amount of skepticism among some of the Muslim community as to whether it's just words and not deeds. But knowing how President Obama operates and the team that he's pulled together to deal with this, there will be deeds. But the lesson that he gave here, and I think is worth concentrating on, is that no matter what America's role is, and I think his being more involved in it is very, very important, ultimately the people in the region have to be able to make decisions. And there was a roadmap. The problem was that the Bush people didn't take it out of the glove compartment. But there has to be an active American role on this.
Speaking of the need to see deeds, results, and not just words, do you think he opened up some space for Senator Mitchell, who he's sending back in there now to pick up on some of the things?
Well, I think that what he did do was to show his own active involvement, and I think that what happens is, having done this for a while myself, is that it's very important for the people in the region to see active presidential involvement. It is the bread and butter of the Secretary of State, and we had a peace envoy also, Dennis Ross, so that kind of multiplicity of messengers. Senator Mitchell had already been in the region. I do think that what President Obama did was clarify, perhaps, again, the two-state solution, as well as the importance of a freeze on the settlements. But he also made very clear that it was necessary to stop the various rocket attacks from Gaza, and that the Palestinian Authority needed to be strengthened. So I think he put down quite a few kind of building blocks that Senator Mitchell is going to be able to use.
I did notice in the reaction that neither Hamas nor Hezbollah seemed to be thrilled about his formulation. In the case of Hamas, there was some criticism, and do you think that that will present a great roadblock, continue to present a great roadblock to the two-state solution?
Well, I think that, I have to say, for any extremist group, Barack Obama is their worst nightmare, because he has taken away a lot of the arguments of saying, they don't understand us, and this is colonialism. And I mean, he, by saying, I'm Barack Hussein Obama, and I have Muslims in my family, and then also by pointing out the specific things and understanding that the Palestinians have legitimate needs, I think that Hamas and Hezbollah may well be put on their back foot. But I think that the issue here, and I thought I read many papers this morning, but there's a very interesting op-ed about Tzipi Livni in talking about the importance of admission to the democratic process. You mentioned that I was chairman of the board of the National Democratic Institute. We support democracy in other countries, not impose. That's an oxymoron. But basically, we have argued that there is an admission price to participating in a democratic election, and that is to give up violence as a tool. And Tzipi Livni reiterated that. And I think that does pose a problem for Hamas and Hezbollah. The elections in Lebanon are on Monday, I think, and so that will be one of the issues there.
I'm assuming his choice of venue in Cairo was very intentional in terms of a city and a country in which to make this argument?
Well, I assume so. I think, especially since I thought, why is he going right to the center of this? But basically, I think Egypt has played a very important role in terms of being a go-between or a facilitator. They have a border with Gaza and have been dealing with some of the issues of weapons, etc., going through the underground tunnels. And they have played an important role. It's also interesting, the Secretary General of the Arab League is Amr Moussa, who was Foreign Minister when I was Secretary of Egypt. So any number of things. But what is also interesting, in order to kind of balance things, because not everybody in the Arab world loves each other, he did go to Saudi Arabia and met with King Abdullah first. And so he paid some respect to the place where Islam had really started.